David Grusch speaks. David Grusch was on Joe Rogan, and we've got to talk about it. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. That's right. David Grusch had a 3 hour interview with Joe Rogan. They did a really in-depth dive into some topics and some fascinating things that David Grusch has not publicly talked about before. And the first thing that really grabbed my attention was his review of Skinwalker Ranch and his discussion of the real story of Skinwalker Ranch. As you might know, I'm a huge fan of Skinwalker Ranch, the TV show, in the place itself, at least where the place that it holds in the mythology of ufology, and the place it holds in my heart, because it is what got me into the weirder aspects of the phenomenon. And it is what led me to the discovery of the metaphysical side of the phenomenon. And ultimately my own experiences with the metaphysical, and ultimately even beyond that to well, not beyond that, but to the UFO phenomenon itself. And so, you know, I love Skinwalker Ranch for its place in ufology and its importance in UFO disclosure. Without Skinwalker Ranch, we wouldn't be having David Grusch. We wouldn't have Lou Elizondo. It's a foundational part in modern UFO disclosure. But what is the real story of Skinwalker Ranch? David Grusch says that Lockheed Martin had a UFO. They were trying to divest themselves of the UFO. OSAP wanted the UFO. Harry Reid was trying to create a special access program, a very secure, secret, high-level special access program to get this UFO. Unfortunately, the CIA was part owner of the UFO, and they killed the deal. They wouldn't let Harry Reid and OSAP get their hands on the Lockheed Martin UFO. And so OSAP studied Skinwalker Ranch and the more woo-woo aspects of the phenomenon, as David Grusch says, to gain currency, to gain some cred into being researchers into the phenomenon, hoping to sway the CIA into allowing them access to this technology. And so that is what David Grusch says was one of the motivations, maybe the main motivation in studying Skinwalker Ranch, was to use that as currency with the CIA to get the Lockheed Martin flying saucer. Now, that's so crazy to me to imagine that studying the woo-woo aspects of the phenomenon would earn them cred, as opposed to the opposite, right? But that just goes to show you how real the woo-woo is and what an inextricable part of the phenomenon, of the UFO phenomenon, it is. And that's why I like to think of it all as the greater phenomenon, because it's not just the UFO phenomenon. The UFO phenomenon is baked in to a much larger phenomenon. It is a subset, but not a distinct subset, because again, it is baked in. It is part and parcel of much more. But anyway, so that is what David Grusch is saying. Does that comport with the facts as we know them or as they have been presented to us? I'm not sure, because OSAP was created first and they were studying Skinwalker Ranch first, according to our best information. And we don't have any dates. David Grusch hasn't given us any dates on this. But apparently OSAP was already created at this time. So, yeah, so, and it was created to study Skinwalker Ranch, and they were studying other things as well. But anyway, but I have no doubt that they would have tried to get their hands on this UFO if they could. And so that is fascinating. I really want more details. We really need we need a sequel to Skinwalkers at the Pentagon to tell us these details that the authors couldn't tell us then, but now have been approved by Dopser, and at least David Grusch is able to talk about this stuff. James Lukatsky was able to talk about the UFO that he was aware of, that they were able to get access to. Not OSAP, but I think at Lockheed Martin. So, really, really intriguing. that the government is allowing this stuff to get out there, that there are UFOs in government possession, and they are now cleared to talk about it. I mean, that is disclosure, guys. I mean, that is government approved discussion of UFOs in government hands. What else did he talk about? Well, he heavily inferred that there was at least one UFO in our possession before the Mussolini UFO that was acquired in 44 to 45. How long have they been collecting UFOs? When did the UFO control group start? All great questions. They seem, from my research, to have been covering this stuff up since at least the early 1900s. You know, that's about when the giant bone started to go missing and the Smithsonian started to hide and obfuscate the reality of the giant bones, which is really interesting. So whether you're a believer in the giant bones or not, the evidence for the Smithsonian hiding this evidence is pretty conclusive. And that is also, according to my research, when the UFO cover-up began in earnest. It was around the turn of the century. So, was it going on before then? Who knows? But it was at least going on for that long. So what else did he talk about? Well, he talked about the battle between Mike Turner, agent of the control group in Congress, and Tim Burchett, and how Mike Turner was actually funding an opponent of Tim and trying to get him defeated. You know, our best advocate in Congress for UFO disclosure, Mike Turner, is actually trying to, get him defeated and removed. So his voice is no longer heard. David Grusch also talked about the interdimensional aspects of the phenomenon, and he spent a little time talking about, the other dimensional stuff and how that might look. He also talks about remote viewing, the reality of remote viewing, and also of near-death experiences. And so two of my favorite subjects, because again, they are all part of the greater phenomenon, which are part and parcel of the UFO phenomenon. Every time I mention remote viewing, I always get some pushback. There's always people saying, oh, well, I don't believe in that. That's fine. I didn't either until I did the research. It just sounded so crazy. I was not going to believe that. But I saw enough things going back to that. And enough of the, my research kept on going back to these psi abilities. And so I said, okay, I'm game. I'll at least do the research and debunk it. And I tried to debunk it and I couldn't. The research was conclusive and overwhelming. So if you're a remote viewer, a remote viewing doubter, hey, I get it. I can only encourage you to research the topic thoroughly with an open mind. In near-death experiences, David Grusch also talks about that. We do have souls and we do go places and it gets really trippy and really interesting. And that is also part and parcel of the greater phenomenon. What else did he talk about? He talked a little bit, and this is what I'll end on, is contact with the beings, right? He says that was a very sensitive topic. And he didn't give us any details on that, unfortunately. That's like a juicy thing, right? But he didn't deny it. And obviously, if it's sensitive, it's going on. It's either happening now or it's happened in the past. And I made multiple videos on how the control group is actually working with the beings, has worked with them for a long time, and is probably continuing to work with them. They seem to have been helping us develop training devices back in the early 60s for how to fly UFOs, and they probably helped us create our own UFOs or UFO-like technology. And so we've been working with them at least that long, if not before, and it's probably ongoing. There's all sorts of abductees and contactees who have been taken by the beings and who have seen military and government types working alongside the beings, often assisting in these abductions. And then there's the Terry Lovelace type stories. Terry Lovelace, a veteran, a guy who has been vetted. His story has been vetted by Lou Elizondo. He has been vouched for by the man himself, Lou, and actually befriended by Lou. They're buddies now. Well, Terry Lovelace describes going up in a giant UFO, being taken aboard a giant UFO that was bigger on the outside than on the inside. Bigger on the inside than the outside. And it was already huge. It was like the size of a Walmart on the outside. But inside, it was just incredibly massive. And there were military types, I think 3 of them, 3 military people working alongside the beings. Not just as passengers. They were pushing buttons. They were serving as crew members aboard this giant UFO, assisting in these abductions. I think there's like 20 abductees other than Terry. So, yeah, the control group is working with the beings. They're going up in giant UFOs. David didn't go into any of that. I don't know if David knows any of that. And if he did, he certainly wouldn't be able to tell it. But obviously, it's a key part of this whole thing, the interaction between humans and aliens, or other dimensionals, whatever they are, and what are they doing? That's really the secret, right? What is their deal? What is their deal? What is the deal they have with each other? Why are we working with some beings and shooting at other beings? That's really kind of the crux of a lot of this, as I see it. Anyway, that's the gist of what David had to say on Joe Rogan. So let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in an even bigger way, please consider buying a coffee mug or a t-shirt. See the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.